I just want to welcome Sharon Payne to the CoLab, as well as her friend, so that she'll introduce in just a minute. So, and thank you guys for coming. So Sharon is the founder of Bra Couture KC, and I invited her to come and speak about that a little bit. I've known Sharon for a couple years, so helping her on the project. So without further ado, Sharon.
Okay, I know I'm a little out of breath because this woman walks like, you know, like she's a racetrack driver or something. And, you know, keeping up with her, I was like, so I'm so sorry I'm a little bit late this morning. Before I get started, I want to introduce Judy Newell. She is the founder and the manager of Missy's Boutique at the KU Cancer Center. And she is the recipient. That organization actually was the launch partner with Bra Couture KC. And so I also had another friend who was going to be able to come today. She's with Research Hospital, another organization that we support. So I'll kind of give you a little bit about my background and how I got started, but then I'm going to ask Judy to join because I think it's important for you to hear not only from me on how this organization came to be and how we raise money, but to hear from someone who takes that money and changes lives with it. And I think it's important for you to hear kind of both pieces of it. Okay, now if I can just gather my thoughts. I spent this morning at Marquee event planning space, picking out tablecloths and lighting and candles and those kinds of things that go into the space for Bra Couture. So about me. I was thinking about what I would say to you about community service. I think I was born this way. I think sometimes many of us are. We come in with this feeling of wanting to help others. And ever since I was a little girl, I would wake up, and as I would head out to school in the morning, I would say, let me bless someone today. Let me help someone today. And that has stayed with me my whole life. And I think just the fact that you are here today, you're sitting here in this space to hear about this, you probably have that too. And so for me, you know, of course, you go through the things in life that we go through. You know, you go to college, you get married, you have a child, you get a divorce. No, that's not normally what I would want you to do. But that is what happened with me. And so once I got through my divorce and I kind of settled down with life and we got a routine with my son, the very first thing that I did was I read to a blind law student at UMKC, which was a fascinating experience because we don't realize that blind people have the ability to have almost and complete total recall of everything that you say to them. So he would say, could you go back to page 362 in the second paragraph in the third sentence? I think that there's a linkage here between what you're talking about and what was on that page. And it was just such a rewarding experience to have that kind of one-on-one. So from there, I've been chairman of many various different things. I think that's in the bio. I've been president of a chamber of commerce. I come from the Northland. I worked for TWA for 28 years and fortunately got to travel all over the world. So all along the way, there's been various different areas that I've helped with. One was I was part of the capital fundraising event that created a battered persons shelter in the Northland. Both my son and I volunteered for a center in the Northland called Synergy Service, which was for children who were in transition from leaving their homes with their parents for many different reasons, and then until they were adopted or moved on to someplace to be secure. So, and then that eventually led to Bra Couture KC, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But I think as you go along the way and you're looking at what can I do, what's in my heart, Because I think now, certainly, in founding this organization, and then really understanding a little bit more about poverty in Kansas City, this is in my heart. And I would say that it's probably the most passionate thing that I have done. My passion for this is stronger than some of the things that I did before. So when you're looking at what would interest me, what would I want to do in giving my time, I think look at what strikes your heart. Like, do I want to work with children? Do I want to work with students who are struggling? Do I want to help get them on the right track, like the Boys and Girls Club or organizations such as that? I think, and what people tell me so frequently is that, I'm going to be 75 in June. I can't do Bra Couture for very much longer. I don't think, Judy. But my committee says you can't ever leave because of your passion. And so I think that is that magic element that leads to your success, because you believe so intensely in what you are doing, so then you are able to share that passion with others. You're able to pull them in and to join you in your cause. And that's what is really going to drive, I think, a really sense of community service. This organization, I brought the space map just so that you could see how big Bra Couture has grown to be. So we do it in an empty airplane hangar. And this is what we put inside of that empty airplane hangar. So this whole entire organization is volunteer driven. There's no paid staff. Finally, a few years ago, I said, hey, you guys, this is consuming my life, and there's this food, shelter, and clothing I need to think about. And so they do now pay me a part-time salary, but everybody else who helps is volunteer. So I think that lies in that passion. It just goes right back to that passion of when you're wanting people to come and help you with something, then that has to be almost part of your DNA, part of your belief system, so that they feel that and they want to be connected to you and join you on your journey or whatever it is that you want to do. I highly recommend community service. I highly recommend finding that cause that is of your choice. And there's so much need that it can be in so many different areas. And that's why, if you're thinking about it, I think you could just go out on the web in Kansas City and look at what are the nonprofit organizations that are there. Or maybe even go to Nonprofit Connect, which is an organization that is housed at KCPT. I went through executive director training with Nonprofit Connect. So that's a good resource organization for you to think of. You can even go there and post your resume if you want to be considered by various nonprofit organizations in Kansas City who are looking for interns and volunteers. So I'm going to back up a little bit now. How Bra Couture came to be is I am a breast cancer survivor. And so when I went through that, my daughter-in-law in Austin, Texas was diagnosed at 32. And she had a much harder time than I did because she had different kinds of treatments. Now that I've been doing Bra Couture for 9 years, I will tell you that every breast cancer survivor has a different story, and Judy will talk about that too. I've had 7 surgeries. So while my treatment might have been a little bit lighter, I still had to go through all of these surgeries to just get through this. And so my daughter-in-law actually started the concept of Art Bra in Austin. And I was just pretty impressed with that. I thought, she's lost her hair, she's lost her boobs, excuse me, but she did. And now she's going to walk a runway wearing a bra that someone has turned into a piece of art. That's amazing. And she's raising money for what turned out to be the Breast Cancer Resource Center in Austin, Texas. So when I went through my breast cancer, I knew that I wanted to bring this to Kansas City. And so Janice Benjamin, who is the Vice President of Fund Development at the University of Kansas Cancer Center, is one of my best friends. And many of those organizations that you see in my bio, I did with her. The Kansas City Women's Foundation, I was on the board of directors with her. The work we did in developing the curriculum for women of color at Synergy Services, at Central Exchange, I did with Janice. And so I took this idea to her, and she said, first she thought maybe it was a little bit too out there for Kansas City. She thought, So I actually had to present this idea to Adele Hall. Do most of you know who she is? Hallmark, that Adele. And so I did. I presented the concept to her, and she loved it. And so then KU said, okay, we want to move forward with this. And so I really thought that I was giving KU the idea, but Janice said, you need to chair this. And I'm like, oh gosh, I just got cold chills when I said that, knowing as to what it has turned into. And so I really thought that I was going to be doing this little PUD fundraising event for KU. Once a year, we would raise $20,000 for Missy's Boutique. So Missy's Boutique is a center within the Cancer Center founded by Judy Newell, who is a mother of one of the Missies, and Linda, who is the mother of the other Missies. So what Missy's Boutique is, it's a place for women who have cancer to go get their hair cut appropriately and be fitted professionally for a wig, to get your surgical teddies, to get a prosthetic. And then now we also do the lymphedema garments and services for lymphedema, which is a by condition of breast cancer that is life-threatening and not covered by insurance. And so when I walked into Missy's Boutique, when I had cancer, when I was diagnosed, I had to drive all over Kansas City to get these items. And it was depressing, and it was sad, and you're scared. But now at Missy's Boutique, you walk in, and it's a happy place. There's purses and jewelry and funky hats, and she does all of that. And then there are the private rooms back where you have a private space to be either fitted for your prosthetic or fitted for your wig. So it was very inspirational. And then what Janice asked me to do, and things happened in an interesting way, because the previous week before she asked me to do this, I was at an urgent care center, and I was getting ready to face my third breast cancer surgery, and this beautiful old lady walked in, and she was probably 24, 25 years old, and she was very sick. And it cost $25 before they would even talk to you. And she didn't have the money. And so I said, Don, to my husband, I don't think she has the money. And I said, we're going to do this. What if this was breast cancer? And so I did. I got up and I went over and I said, do you not have the money? And she said, no. And I said, we want to pay for this. And she said, why? And I said, well, because I'm going through my third surgery of breast cancer, and I just can't imagine what it would be like to face this disease without insurance. So the very next week, Janice called me, and she said, the board has approved this. And what we want you to do is we want you to raise money to create what we call a Patients in Need Fund here at KU that will be for uninsured and underinsured cancer patients. And so it was kind of like, okay, got that, God. Thank you very much. I saw it at a micro level. And that's when my passion was ignited. And I believe, that is what, the other people who are involved feel. The idea was to raise $20,000, and we raised $90,000. The next year we raised $120,000. We have always sold out. The next year, I think we raised $130,000. So pretty soon we had a lot of money. And that's when that's when we decided to become our own 501c3, and we decided to look at, well, I'm going to back up just a second. So the first thing that I did was try to go into the underserved communities in Kansas City to various little clinics, and KU developed the marketing material for me to try to bring the women from the underserved community to KU, to Westwood, Kansas. So I've always been blessed because I worked at TWA and I've always had a nice job. I've always had great benefits. I didn't know about the poverty level in Kansas City. I didn't know that the women in those communities don't have transportation to get to Westwood, Kansas. And so that's when we became a 501c3, and we opened our next center in Truman Medical Center, which sits in an underserved community. Last summer, we just opened up a new center at Research Hospital, at the Sarah Cannon Center in Research, through the Research Foundation. So there's that underserved community that we're into. Next, we'll probably go to North Kansas City, and then just keep looking for ways that we can reach all of the demographics that are at risk in Kansas City. So right now, the highest number of women losing their lives to breast cancer in America is within the community of black women in Wyandotte County. That's like the county right next to where we all live. And so we decided to take party buses and go into those communities and pick up between 30 and 50 women and bring them to an imaging center and screen them, so that we feel like that's the only way we're going to be able to help them is early detection. So now we have screened over 600 women. We have found 11 cancers. So when we find an abnormality, we fast track. We don't drop them. We don't say, you have an abnormality, you need to go see someone, because you're talking to women who have no resources. So we fast track them for care, either to KU or Truman. And now we just started doing screening parties because the other women who are at risk are the women who are in the rural communities. So we just screened 37 women from the farming communities, and we found 3 cancers. And for those women, we fast tracked them for care at North Kansas City Hospital. So something that was a little concept that I thought was going to be once a year raising $20,000. We have now raised close to $2 million in 8 years. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so, but we're not done because, I was just talking to an oncologist at Research, and he was saying, you'll find this interesting, Judy. He was saying, well, I'm not sure about this appearance center. I mean, that provides wigs and that provides prosthetics, but what we really need is, we really need hotel rooms. Well, what we've already done there at Verta's place, because it's named after one of our dear friends who lost her lives to breast cancer, one of the things that I wanted to get to is where if someone in that community has cancer and they can't work because they're in treatment and they don't get paid if they're not working because they have that kind of job, we are now paying their utilities. We are giving them Price Chopper food cards. We are giving them Quick Trip gas cards. And so this summer we turned on the air conditioning for a woman who was in treatment, and it was very, very hot. And we just turned on the utilities for 2 women at Truman Medical Center because they were about to lose their heat. So I like that our organization really gets down to that micro level where you're really, really making a difference. So that's another thing for you to think about. When you're looking at your passion and you're looking at what kind of a difference do I want to make? Do I want to be an executive? Which, oh, by the way, you can't get along without executives. Or do I want to be in a role that allows me to look at that micro level one-on-one where I can know and see that I'm making a difference in someone's life? So when these women come into the centers, and I'm going to let Judy just share all of that with you, what this physician was saying to me is, well, wigs are okay, prosthetics are okay, but I like the fact that we're paying for food and now we need to pay for hotels. Well, you know what I want? I want to pay for it all. I don't want a mother to have to say, okay, I wish I could have a wig. I wish I could have a prosthetic, because if you don't have insurance, they don't provide reconstructive surgery. You just lose your breast. And to make a decision about those kinds of things that would make her feel beautiful again, or is she going to just only be able to choose Price Chopper food cards or be able to stay in a hotel that is paid for her? I don't want them to have to make those choices. So that will be our migration now. Our migration is to look at when someone comes to us and says, would you like to do this? Or we think it's either or. We want to continue raising money so there is no either or, it's both. So that's kind of the goal. So those are just kinds of things that you can talk about. Judy, come and tell them. I want you to hear just some amazing stories. Real quickly, one story that I love is there was a little Hispanic. We've heard this story. She told us this story. So it's like one of the first ladies that we helped was a little Hispanic girl who had lost her breasts, and she worked in a factory setting, and she was being ridiculed because she was so flat-chested. And so she came to Missy's boutique, and we fitted her with prosthetics. And when we interviewed her to just ask her how she felt, she said, I never take them off except when I shower. Because she said, I sleep with them on. Because that is a fulfillment. And one last thing I'm going to say. I'm getting ready to, I just had my 4th reconstructive surgery last October. So it was so painful before I decided to do it. My husband said, don't do it. Just take those implants out and forget it. Can you think what my response was? I was like, just the thought of getting out of my shower and seeing me with scars, and that's all that I have. And then not having any alternative beyond that, like prosthetics, it actually ended up being almost a good thing for me to experience, because it just sort of fueled that passion, back to that passion, like, oh my gosh, I'm very fortunate that I can have reconstructive surgery. But that's just getting in touch again with what that feels like when you don't have those options and those choices. So I would like for you to just share some of the experiences and the stories of women who come in, and she's just got amazing things to share.
I've been doing this about 10 years now, and was so blessed, the hospital, myself, and Missy's boutique, that Sharon decided to come visit one day. And so since then, the partnership has been amazing. We have helped several thousand women get their needs. For instance, a prosthetic is $322. That's just for one. So you can imagine if they're bilateral. The wigs range from $150 to $500. And then you have the bras and the post-surgical camisoles and all those needs that a woman might have. And we help men too, because there are men that's diagnosed also with breast cancer. But some of the women that come through the door, or most all the women, are probably the bravest, strongest people I have ever met in my life. And they leave me with so much in my heart that it's hard to express it. But some of the stories, yes, and speaking about passion, I have to say, she is so on target with that word passion, because Missy's Boutique's walls are infused with passion. You can feel it when you walk through the door. I have 18 volunteers, and I have 4 staff members. And most every one of them have a story to tell you of something they have encountered in their life. some breast cancer, some other, but they all are happy to be there, and that patient feels it the minute they come in the door, you know. So I have to say Sharon is right when she says it's a happy place. Sometimes it's so happy, people walking down the halls will hear the laughter and they turn around and come in. Now, how can a parent center that helps give back a person's self-esteem can be laughing and having fun? But these women are just incredible. Some of the stories.
It really is that opportunity for homeless. You know,
Yeah.
we had one time a woman who said, I'll stop you just for
No,
a
that's
second.
fine.
We had a woman who was a hairdresser. And so she said, I'm not going to need a wig because I've had my hair orange and green and purple and every make, and I'm going to be fine with no hair. And then she lost just one breast. And she goes, and I'll be fine with it. You know, I won't need a prosthetic. It'll be just fine. But when she lost her hair and she lost that breast, she wasn't fine. And so then she came back and said, I do want a hair. I do want a prosthetic. And so when we fit her for the prosthetic, she just kept saying, Sharon, feel my prosthetic. It feels real. Now, we do things like that, by the way. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. We do things like that, by the way, us that are breast cancer survivors and have reconstructive surgery. You know, we are always constantly pushing on our boobs because they're not real. They're not really a part of us, or they're that which is a substitute for what is. But just go ahead. I just wanted to say that, give you another example of a patient. So.
And yes, some of the women that come in, they always leave us with comments, or even women that come in and just shop, because now we have so much in retail that women just love to come and shop there. So we have a great audience. A lot of them come in with their husbands and they say, I just came in with him so I could shop today, you know, which I always found hilarious. But some of the things, the profound things that I hear in Missy's is, one woman came in, she needed prosthesis. She is bilateral. We did what we always do. We made her look good. And on her way out the door, she turned around and said, you know, Missy's is like the Hope Diamond. You can't put a value on this place. And so we've gotten so many remarks like that. We have a board with all these comments. Another one, and this is from a long time, a lady come in and we had this gorgeous belt, all sparkles, hanging on this mannequin. And she kept looking at it, and I asked her if she wanted to try it on. And she said, no, I don't. I just want to look at it. And I said, well, if you want to try it on, let me know we'll take it off. And she said, no, you don't understand. The sparkle takes away the dark. I mean, we hear this day in and day out and day in, and we are so blessed because we have Art Couture and Sharon as our partner. So we have never turned away anybody. Anybody in need will get whatever they need in Missy's boutique because of Art Couture. So we are blessed also. And Sharon says you're put where you're supposed to be. And I truly believe that because I had no intention of this in this part of my life. But then I lost my daughter-in-law to breast cancer. Then I was diagnosed. And then I had the opportunity, because of my background in the beauty industry, KU asked if I would come. And I said, yeah, I'll come and help get the Appearance Center going. I'll stay for a year or two. That's been 10 years now.
Same
and
with
people
me.
ask Sharon
It's been
and
9.
I, when are we going to quit? And we look at each other and go,
Why?
I don't know. You know, it's a good feeling that you're left with every single day. And I feel blessed to be there with those women.
And I think another thing that both of us are trying to say here. So, like, you know, we came up with this idea to do Bra Couture. We thought it was going to be this little, this small little thing that we do once a year. And then we found out about the disparity issue in Wyandotte County. We found out about the fact that women don't have transportation, that they're afraid to go see. They're afraid to go get screened because without insurance, what are they going to do? They don't want that answer. So what happened was the organization sort of got pulled along. So once we found out about the disparity issue, we said, okay, well, we need to take care of that. Once we found out that they didn't have transportation, we knew we had to give them cards from Quick Trip. Once we found out that they were afraid to get screened because if they were diagnosed, they had no place for care. So we took care of that. So I have to honestly say, you know, people say to me sometimes, wow, you had, excuse me, you had this amazing vision. No, it happened to me.
One thing I have to say, she got Missy's Boutique off and running, and she got us stable, and we have a healthy fund to help people. So now, you know, she's gone out in the community and spread the love. And I mean, how many people do that? You know, it's amazing the things that she has accomplished and the people she's helped.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. But you can do that too. And so that's the message here today to each of you, is that you can do that as well. You find that place in your heart. You start, and you've heard this. I mean, sometimes we watch 60 Minutes, and we hear about somebody who decided to start a school in Harlem, and then it explodes beyond their dreams. And that, I think, is the example that we want to give you today. We started this, her 10 years ago, me 9 years ago. But look what it's become, because the possibilities were there, and then it pulls you along, and that ends up allowing you to be more than you ever dreamed that you would be able to accomplish. And the fulfillment from that is just extraordinary. So, last thing I'm going to say, and I don't know how we're doing on time, because I want to give you an opportunity to ask questions. The event is April 12th. We always look for volunteers. So if you want to come and volunteer the day of the event and help us get set up, you get to stay at the event, enjoy it. It's really cool because we have breast cancer survivors who walk the runway wearing bras that have been turned into pieces of art. So in the beginning, we thought we were really cool when we were taking a bra and sticking flowers and fishies on it, and we thought, wow, this is high fashion. Well, today, it's morphed into real couture in that you have this model coming out on the runway who's styled from head to toe. She's got a skirt, she's got a headpiece. It's really extraordinary. So I would encourage you, if you would like to volunteer, to go to our website. I'd love to see you there. So what kinds of questions do you have? Do you have any questions or any way that I can help you on your quest or your idea for community service or community outreach?
Yes. I have a question about the event. Have you already accepted the bras, or is that still going on?
The bra deadline is March the 1st. Don't panic about that. That's like 2 weeks. You have time. I'm actually doing the KU bra because we always have the KU bra since they were our launch partner, and we always have Baby J who escorts the KU bra. But we also have Dustin Colquitt, and we have Graham Zusi. And this year, Alex Gordon has chosen Bra Couture as his charity. And so we have really cool athletes that lend their celebrity to us to be on the runway. So if you would like to design a bra, if you go to the website, there's a tab that's Design Guidelines. It's going to snow all weekend long. You have lots of time to make a bra. And I would love it. It would just be fabulous. How about anybody else? Oh, great. It's all there. Oh, so look at this. That gives you an example of sort of what it's morphed into, right, Judy? Not just, but I want to tell you something else. I forgot to mention this. So the first year that we did Bra Couture, I had not seen the one in Austin, so I didn't know what to expect. So when that survivor comes out on that runway, and that first year, it's like we'll never forget that first year. When a woman is diagnosed, because now we help men, women, and children. When anyone is diagnosed with cancer, it's not an individual diagnosis, it's a community diagnosis. The whole family is diagnosed. All the friends and in the community are diagnosed. And so when she comes out on that runway, all of those friends and family are there to cheer her on. Her father's crying, her brother's crying, her husband is there. I just had a woman call me and say, I have 38 people that I'm bringing to the event. Those are people who went through, and I think this is what's so beautiful about Bra Couture, is that you've gone through that really frightening time with her. And now you get to celebrate the fact that she is a survivor and she is on that runway, and you get to come and party with her in a way, if you will. That being said, we've had women on the runway who are in treatment as well. So that occurs sometime. So the very first year, as a matter of fact, Hallie Baker, who was a student here in fashion and merchandising, who, by the way, has designed a bra every year and has designed 4 for this year, was a student here. And she got the whole fashion and merchandising class to make bras. So the first year, our bras were from Johnson County Community College Fashion and Merchandising. The Kansas City Star put us on the front page that year because it's really the bra thing that draws people. And we're saying it's not about the bra. But those bras that were on the front page of the Kansas City Star were made by Johnson County Community College students. And then you stayed involved. They made bras for, I think, probably maybe 4 years or 5 years. As long as the professor who was leading that class was there, they made bras for us. So, and then Sean has been involved with the organization as well. Did I remember all of the involvement? I'm sorry?
I think you're good. Any questions?
Okay. Are there any questions? Any thoughts? Yes.
I have a question. So you mentioned that some of the women that you help are from Wyandotte County
Yes.
area.
Yes.
I'm from Wyandotte County.
Yes.
And so I was just curious to know more about helping out in that area or getting the word more out in that area to get
Women on that bus. Okay, so let me tell you about that, because we just did a screening party and from Wyandotte County, and I know it had everything to do with the weather. It was freezing cold, it was snowing, and we were hoping to have 50 women, and I think we ended up with 32. So I would like to speak with you offline. I will give you my card, and I would love for you to help me get more women on that bus. Because it's the only way we're going to save lives. Now, my long-term goal is to win the lottery so that I can build an imaging center in downtown Kansas City, Kansas. From my voice to God's ears, right? No, we actually think there is a possibility, working with a foundation, that we might be able to do that. And I haven't even talked to KU about that. But, and one of the sources for this are the churches. So the first ladies in the churches are on board helping us. So we just need more churches.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I would love it if you help me.
forward to
And what
speaking
we've
with you.
discovered is if she comes, next year she brings everybody she knows. And that's how it grows. So we do 2 in Wyandotte County, we do 1 in Jackson County, and then we do 1 in the rural communities in the Northland. We try to screen at least 200 women a year.
So question, if we encounter students here that may need the services, what can we do?
Call me. You can find me through the website. My contact information is in the website. And that not only goes for you personally, if anyone in your realm of influence or our community needs assistance in any way, let us know, because we really want to help. Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and thank you, Sean.